For thousands of cycles, the Galactic Alliance believed it had catalogued every intelligent species in the known universe. Their archives held detailed records of thousands of civilizations, each one studied, understood, and neatly categorized. Some species were scholars who dedicated their existence to knowledge. Others were engineers who shaped stars and bent gravity to their will. A few had mastered biological perfection, eliminating disease and extending their lives for centuries. Humanity fit none of these patterns. When Earth was first observed, Alliance scientists expected a primitive world slowly evolving toward stability. Instead, they discovered a species surviving on a planet that seemed determined to kill it. Violent storms, shifting continents, deadly predators, and unstable climates had shaped human history. And yet humans endured. What unsettled the observers most was not Earth's dangers. It was how humans responded to them. They adapted. They rebuilt after disasters that would have wiped out most civilizations. They developed tools, machines, and weapons with frightening speed. Even when they fought among themselves, their progress never truly stopped. Wars ended. Cities were rebuilt. Technology improved. Over and over again. To the Alliance, this behavior appeared chaotic and alarming. Most advanced civilizations had long ago abandoned conflict. War was considered an outdated phase of development, something species eventually outgrew as they matured. Humans had not. They studied warfare like a science. Their libraries held thousands of years of military history, strategic theories, and battle simulations. Their leaders debated tactics. Their soldiers trained constantly, even during times of peace. The Alliance saw a pattern that disturbed them. Humans were not just capable of violence. They were capable of learning from it. Each conflict refined their strategies. Each disaster improved their resilience. Each failure made them more dangerous than before. For a species so physically fragile, humanity possessed an unsettling advantage: adaptability. No other civilization in the Alliance archives demonstrated such rapid behavioral evolution. Where others followed stable cultural paths for millennia, humans changed dramatically within a few generations. They were unpredictable. That unpredictability frightened the Council. If a species that adaptable ever gained access to advanced interstellar technology, its potential influence on galactic stability could be enormous. After years of debate, the Galactic Alliance issued an official classification for humanity. Level Omega Threat. Highly adaptive. Strategically aggressive. Unpredictable under pressure. The designation did not mean immediate hostility. But it meant caution. Earth would remain under observation. Trade would remain limited. Diplomatic contact would stay carefully controlled. The Alliance believed distance was the safest policy. And for centuries, that decision seemed wise. Humanity remained isolated within its system, slowly advancing but rarely interfering with the wider galaxy. Many Council members eventually stopped worrying about them entirely. Humans were simply another strange species on a distant world. A dangerous one, perhaps. But contained. No one imagined that the very traits the Alliance feared most would one day become the only reason the galaxy survived. Because far beyond the borders of known space, something ancient had begun to move between the stars. The first star system disappeared without warning. It was a quiet research colony orbiting a stable yellow star. Communication stopped abruptly. Long-range sensors showed nothing unusual at first: no explosions, no radiation spikes, no signs of war. Then the star collapsed. Not violently. Not like a supernova. It simply dimmed, and vanished, as if its energy had been drained away. Scientists across the Galactic Alliance searched for explanations. Stellar instability was proposed. Exotic gravitational anomalies were considered. A few even suggested unknown cosmic phenomena. But before the investigation could reach a conclusion, another system went silent. Then another. Entire stars were disappearing. Exploration fleets were dispatched to investigate the growing pattern. Autonomous probes entered the affected regions first. None returned. Eventually, a heavily shielded exploration vessel was sent deeper into the darkened sector. It was equipped with the most advanced sensors the Alliance had ever created. The ship returned days later, barely functional. Its crew was shaken, struggling to explain what they had seen. Something enormous had been moving between the stars. It wasn't a fleet. It wasn't a machine. It wasn't even fully understood by the instruments studying it. The entity moved slowly through space, ignoring planets, asteroids, and gas clouds. It only stopped at stars. And when it did, the star began to die. Energy readings showed massive gravitational distortions surrounding the object, as if it fed directly from stellar cores. Within hours of its arrival, a star's energy output would begin collapsing until nothing remained. A cosmic predator. The realization spread panic across the Alliance. Defensive fleets were deployed immediately. Advanced civilizations had powerful technology capable of manipulating gravity, energy, and space itself. If necessary, they believed they could destroy almost anything. But their weapons had not been designed for war. They had been designed for protection. Energy cannons were fired when the entity entered another system. The beams struck its outer structure and scattered harmlessly into space. Gravitational traps were activated, attempting to slow its movement. The creature passed through them as if they were nothing. Autonomous defense swarms attacked next. Thousands of drones surrounded the entity and unleashed coordinated bombardments. Sensors recorded the attacks. The entity did not react. It continued feeding. Within minutes, another star collapsed. The problem became clear very quickly. For thousands of years, the civilizations of the Alliance had eliminated war from their cultures. Military thinking had gradually disappeared from their education systems. Strategic combat planning had been replaced with diplomatic theory and scientific exploration. They had incredible technology. But they had no idea how to fight. Emergency councils met continuously as more systems vanished. Entire civilizations began evacuating their home worlds, unsure if the entity could be stopped at all. Fear spread faster than the creature itself. And then, during one of the council's desperate discussions, an uncomfortable idea surfaced. There was one species in the galaxy that had never abandoned the study of conflict. A species that trained for war even during peace. A species the Alliance had labeled dangerous centuries ago. Humans. For a long moment, the council chamber remained silent. The same species they had kept at a distance might now be their only chance of survival. Reluctantly, the Alliance authorized first contact. An envoy ship was prepared. Its destination was Earth. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was about to ask the species it feared most for help. The Alliance envoy arrived in Earth's orbit carrying a request no one had expected to make. For centuries, humanity had been observed but never trusted. Records describing humans as volatile and dangerous still existed in the Alliance archives. Many council members assumed the meeting would be difficult. Instead, the response was immediate. Human leaders listened carefully to the envoy's report. The disappearing star systems. The failed defenses. The unknown cosmic entity moving steadily toward populated regions of space. When the explanation ended, the humans asked a single question. How much time do we have? Within days, the quiet planet the Alliance had been watching for centuries changed completely. Human governments coordinated faster than the envoy believed possible. Industrial networks began shifting toward emergency production. Shipyards that normally built research vessels started constructing heavily reinforced spacecraft designed for deep space operations. But what surprised the Alliance observers most was not the speed of construction. It was the planning. Human strategists studied every piece of data collected about the entity. Sensor recordings from destroyed systems. Energy readings. Gravitational distortions. Movement patterns between stars. Where the Alliance had tried to overpower the creature, humans studied it. They treated the problem like a puzzle. The entity moved in predictable paths between dense star clusters. It favored stable stars with high energy output. It ignored planets entirely and focused only on stellar cores. To the humans, that meant the creature behaved like a predator following a food source. And predators could be manipulated. The plan they presented shocked the Alliance. Instead of attacking the entity directly, human fleets would redirect it. Massive energy bursts would lure it away from inhabited systems. Artificial gravitational disturbances would alter its path through space. When necessary, stars along its route would be destabilized before the creature could reach them, denying it the energy it sought. The strategy required precision, patience, and sacrifice. Because some fleets would have to remain behind to trigger those stellar disruptions. Once activated, the resulting energy waves would destroy everything nearby, including the ships that triggered them. The Alliance expected hesitation when this part of the plan was explained. Instead, volunteers filled the human command networks almost immediately. Crews prepared for missions they knew would not have return routes. Human commanders issued simple instructions. Protect the populated systems. Slow the creature's advance. Buy time for the next fleet to reposition. When the first operation began, Alliance observers watched carefully. Human vessels approached a star directly along the entity's predicted route. They deployed specialized reactors designed to destabilize the star's outer layers. As the creature entered the system, the reactors activated. The star erupted in a controlled stellar detonation. The entity changed course. Exactly as the humans predicted. One by one, the fleets repeated the process across multiple systems. Each sacrifice pushed the cosmic predator farther from the heavily populated regions of the galaxy. It was slow, dangerous, and relentlessly calculated. The Alliance had never witnessed warfare like this. Not reckless violence, but disciplined strategy built around endurance and sacrifice. For the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy was watching a species that understood something the others had forgotten. Sometimes survival required the will to keep fighting, even when the cost was everything. The operation lasted longer than anyone expected. Redirecting a creature that fed on stars was not a battle that could be won quickly. Every movement required careful calculations, and every mistake could cost entire systems. Human fleets continued their work across the outer regions of the galaxy. They studied the entity's reactions to energy signals, gravitational shifts, and stellar detonations. Patterns slowly emerged. The creature always moved toward the strongest nearby energy source. Humans used that instinct against it. Artificial power signatures were created to lure it away from inhabited sectors. Small fleets triggered controlled stellar collapses at key locations, forcing the entity to change direction again and again. Each maneuver pushed it farther from the densely populated areas of Alliance space. Months turned into years. Some human ships never returned. Others came back damaged, crews exhausted but determined to continue. Replacement fleets arrived constantly from Earth and its colonies, each one taking the place of those that had been lost. The Alliance watched the effort with growing disbelief. Many of their civilizations had not fought a war in thousands of years. Conflict had become an abstract concept studied only in ancient historical records. Seeing humans commit themselves to such a relentless campaign forced the Council to reconsider everything they thought they knew about the species. Eventually, the creature reached a region of empty space between galaxies. There were no dense star clusters there, no thriving civilizations, and very little energy for it to consume. Human commanders triggered the final phase of their strategy. A chain of controlled stellar detonations cut off the creature's path back toward populated space. The only remaining direction held a sparse scattering of dying stars far beyond the borders of the Alliance. The entity followed the energy trail. Slowly, it disappeared into the darkness between galaxies. The threat that had terrified the Alliance for years was gone. Not destroyed, but pushed so far away that it would never return within any foreseeable era. When the human fleets began their long journey home, they did not ask for recognition. There were no demands for territory or influence within the Alliance. Their commanders simply reported that the mission had been completed. Across the Council worlds, leaders began reviewing the centuries-old decision that had labeled humanity as dangerous. The records of the recent crisis told a very different story. Humans had not responded with conquest. They had not used the situation to gain power over weaker civilizations. Instead, they had done something few species in the galaxy had ever demonstrated. They had accepted the cost of protecting others. The Council eventually reached a unanimous decision. Humanity's classification would be changed. The species once marked as an unpredictable threat would now receive a new designation in the Alliance archives. Guardian species. Not because humans were the most powerful civilization, but because when the galaxy faced a danger it could not understand or defeat, the species once feared for its aggression had been the only one willing to stand against it. And in that moment, the Alliance finally understood what made humanity truly dangerous. Humans never stopped fighting for what mattered.